Come on. I'll listen to the fans. We'll run the organization via Twitter. It might work.
You know, as crazy as that sounds, you look at the first-round picks that this team has had, and you just go, well, could it be any worse? Justin Gilbert's a non-factor. Johnny isn't ready to supersede a 36-year-old quarterback. Danny Shelton plays well on the inside, but he didn't help the run game because they still have zero outside contain. And then you look at Cameron Irving, and he couldn't beat out John Greco on a line that looks like a piece of Swiss cheese right now.
That's terrible.
And then you throw on Dwayne Bowe on top of it, and you think, my God, how does Ray Farmer survive this year?
I don't know.
Because it's and then you throw in the texting scandal, the team fine, almost losing draft picks because of it. Like you just have to keep the kid away from sharp objects, right? put down the draft picks and back away slowly.
Wear the safety goggles.
Back away slowly. Like that's kind of what you have to do with Ray Farmer right now, because Trader Ray is trading himself out of Cleveland at this point. And totally. I think the fans feel it. And you know, you hear all these people on talk radio say, well, continuity's important. You got to give them time to figure it out. We've heard that same song and dance before. 16 years in the making. We still can't figure it out. Like, just at this point, maybe the option is to go get that former coach that wants to be a GM. It worked in Dallas for a few years. You know, the Cowboys had success under Bill Parcells. Maybe that's the type of personality you need in here. The problem is Jimmy Haslam and Alex Shiner aren't willing to give up the juice to do it. They're not going to give up power that they have to bring in the guy that they need.
It just points to the continuity question that you brought up. You have to have the right people in to have continuity make success. This organization, this franchise right now, cannot afford to have continuity with these horrendous personnel decisions. You cannot, because then it's a bigger mess for the next guy who comes in, and then it's the same old circle of, well, the last regime really screwed us over, so it's going to take a little while, and then they'll be fired after 2 years, and then Matt and I will be pulling out our hair and just be cranky old angry men in rocking chairs before you know it, right? That'll be it.
I don't have much hair left to pull out. I'm getting a little thin up top, and the shingles are falling off the roof.
the Browns.
So I'd like to see some winning at some point. That's why my only saving grace is the fact that the Cavaliers are good, and maybe they're pushing for the entertainment dollar with the fans in Cleveland will actually spur this franchise on to doing something worth anything when it comes to making the right personnel decisions. There's a reason why they went through 8 guys before they got Rob Chudzinski. There's a reason why they had to go through several candidates before they ended up on Mike Pettin. There's a reason why nobody wants to come to this franchise unless you Dwayne Bowe them and overpay the hell out of them. There's a reason for that. Because they know they're going to get axed in 2 years, and they know they're taking over a dumpster fire, and they want to just see if they can be the ones to turn it around. And that's what the NFL is predicated on, is ego. Everybody who comes in here thinks that they're going to be the man. They're going to be the one to turn it around. And not a single dadgum one of them has been able to turn it around. Nope. So if you're Jimmy Haslam, you have to look and go, okay, I don't want to continuously pay 3 people to coach one team, but something's severely wrong here, so we have to address this, and we have to address this now. And we'll see if he does. And if he does, you know, he'll take his fair share of criticism, and it's well within the fans' right and responsibility of being a fan to do that, because, once again, this is the 3rd time now he's had to blow up the front office in less than 5 years of owning the franchise. But maybe this will be the impetus for success in the future. I mean, when the Steelers started, they were a dumpster fire. Yeah. Then they got a dude by the name of Chuck Noll, and they've had 3 coaches in the last 45 years. So that's not a bad run.
At some point, it's got to turn around. You're listening to the Doghouse, your inside look at the Cleveland Browns. Andy McNamara alongside Matt Florjancic from WKYC Sports. Get us on Twitter at AndyMC81, at Matt Florjancic. Our question today, if you had the call, you're a head coach this Sunday, would you start Johnny or Josh McCown or Johnny Manziel? Who gives you the best chance to win this Sunday? Not long-term, But right now, at AndyMC81, at Matt Florjancic. Matt, let's start breaking down this game Sunday versus the San Diego Chargers. And for the Chargers, when we first looked at the schedule, beginning of the year, it's all right, that is a good team. They're 1-2 now. They are absolutely decimated with injuries. Their offensive line they've added 2 linemen on Tuesday this week. Both are probably going to play prominent roles. Their return game, Jacoby Jones, still on the sideline. The secondary is all beat up. That being said, you still have quarterback Phillip Rivers, and you have the potential for a breakout running game for Melvin Gordon, and then on the side of that, Danny Woodhead, Melvin Gordon, the first-round pick, who the Browns really did like.
Yeah, I think this will be the breakout game for Melvin Gordon in terms of running. I mean, Danny Woodhead's always given us fits going back to his day with the Patriots. He's a little guy that can just scoot through anything, any hole that you give him, he'll find a way to scoot through it. And Gordon, he's shown a little bit of promise, averaging better than 4 yards per pop. But even Phillip Rivers said, we know there's more there. There's definitely more there. There's more talent, and we're gonna find a way to bring it out. And you have to make the case that there's no better opponent to try and find out what this young man's all about than against a run defense that statistically is worse than last year, regardless of what Dante Whitner had to say in the locker room yesterday about them not being a worse run defense team and the scheme being a good fit for everybody. That's hogwash and horse crap, and this team has not stopped the run, and Melvin Gordon is going to look to exploit that one more week.
I would take him in any DraftKings or daily fantasy, weekly fantasy stuff. Load up on San Diego Chargers running backs. But, Matt, the one bright spot to me comes from, with those injuries, the offensive line, maybe that pass rush can get back to what it was against the Tennessee Titans. Maybe Paul Kruger can actually be unleashed a little bit and actually make an impact. Because if they can, Phillip Rivers is a big body. He's tough to bring down, but you can rattle him. And then in the secondary, this is where why I wanted Johnny to start, because those over-the-top deep throws in a bad secondary, that's an advantage. It wasn't last week with the worst secondary in the NFL at the time in the Oakland Raiders. They couldn't take advantage of it. But there's another chance with all those injuries for the Browns maybe to eke one out on the road and get back to 500, which I think would just be so huge and just be a little bit of a weight lifted off of them.
It'd be a huge weight lifted off of them, especially heading into Baltimore next weekend. But
yeah.
I'm in a prove-it mode. This team has to show me. I'm thinking as a reporter and less as a fan these days, because it's the only way I can actually get through the season without, completely pulling my hair out and just saying, prove it. You talked about being the best offensive line. You talked about added pass rush. You talked about stopping the run. You talked about being the best secondary in the NFL. Prove it. This is your opportunity to prove it.
Yeah.
Show us that the Oakland Raider game was an aberration and that you will be able to figure your stuff out. Make adjustments. Prove it. Go out there and say and show that you're worthy of the love, devotion, and support that this fan base has given you for 16 years.
And they want to give it to you. They want to give it to you this year. So I think that there is a chance. We'll get to our predictions in just a couple moments from the shotgun. And we had the other AFC North teams, 2 of them, in the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, go in the Thursday nighter. One of the uglier games I've seen out of those 2 clubs in a while, Matt. Michael Vick looked atrocious. Great news for the Browns. Not good news if you're a fantasy owner and have Antonio Brown on your team, like yours truly. But he is erratic, looking like how he usually is. Took a big hit, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if in Pittsburgh they're going to be down to their 3rd stringer before Big Ben returns. The Ravens squeak one out, avoid going 0-4. I don't mind this result, Matt, and it went to overtime 23-20 after the Pittsburgh kicker, Escoby, missed 2 field goals. I'm sure he will find himself unemployed very soon. But this clogs up the division a little bit. Gives the Browns, I think, a little bit more of a chance. You have the Steelers now at 2-2, Ravens now at 1-3. Real quick thought on the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game.
It was an ugly game, but that's sort of typical of what these 2 teams play. They just play physical, smash mouth, last man standing wins type of games. And, the Steelers had their chances, and they got lucky once in overtime when they went for it on fourth down, and then defense held, and then they tried it again because they were scared to send Josh Scobie out there to kick a 50-yarder, and it burned them this time. So I think Pittsburgh's lack of conservative play calling and field position really cost them, and that was surprising because Mike Tomlin's a better coach than that, and to see those plays called the way they were, I just don't understand how a Michael Vick rollout on 4th and 2 was a good idea. But, credit to the Ravens for manning up on a short week after what has been an utterly disastrous first 3 weeks of the season. So, maybe that's the game that turns it around for Baltimore, and I wouldn't be surprised if they rattle off a few wins straight, knowing that they have the Browns next week. That would be bad, but it would not surprise me if this team went on a roll. And if somebody could find a way to knock off the Bengals and make this a really tight race, it could be interesting. But the Bengals look pretty darn good right now, so it's going to be tough sledding for anybody that falls too far behind. And the Browns are already 2 games behind, and you hope that doesn't drop to 3, because once it hits 3, it seems like the bottom gets closer and the top gets further away.
Well, the Browns are at the 4:05 game in San Diego. The Bengals up against the Kansas City Chiefs, hosting the Chiefs, who are 1-2. Bengals undefeated at 3-0. Chiefs have the horses to beat the Bengals, I think. But the problem is that they still can't score with wide receivers, and Andy Reid's play calling is kind of atrocious. So we'll see how that one plays out, if the Cincinnati Bengals can be knocked off there. Matt, real quick score prediction, Browns at the Chargers. Hit me.
27-10 Chargers.
27. I'm writing this down. 20. We're both. What are we? We're 1-2 now, right?
1-2. Yeah.
We're all 1-2.
You tricked me into thinking that they could beat the Raiders, and I should have never picked against the Silver and Black. I should have known better.
So Matt goes 27-10 for the Chargers. I'm gonna go 23-20 for the Browns. I think those injuries are too much. I just have a feeling that these injuries are too much for the San Diego Chargers to overcome this week. And I think the Browns squeak one out and are able to cut through and get some pressure on the quarterback, and that the front seven anyway are going to look a little bit more like the Tennessee game than the New York and the Oakland game. Let's get real quick here to your tweets at AndyMC81, at Matt Florjancic in the Barkov. And our question this week was on Twitter, who do you start? Johnny Manziel, Josh McCown. Who do you think gives you the best chance to win this Sunday? Not going forward, not the future, not the past. Right now, Josh McCown, Johnny Manziel. At AndyMC81, at Matt Florjancic. We have from at Steve Bermel, says, I'm not a Browns fan, but I'd vote for Johnny Football. And we have from at KA Colvin60, says, Manziel, the rest of the season, see what our draft pick can look at difference, or see what our draft pick can do. Look at the difference in Carr after playing a year. And that's in reference, of course, to the game last week. And she's right. You look at a guy like Derek Carr. There's no substitution for live action. If you're a first-round pick, why not go that route? The Browns coaches think they know better, and for this week anyway, I hope they do.
Yeah, absolutely. But what you're saying is you have faith that Josh McCown can get it done this week by picking the Browns, huh?
Yeah.
That's a true fan right there, man. A guy who wants somebody else but knows that the guy who's going to start is going to do the job. You know what?
I'm leaning more on defensive plays and shortened fields than relying specifically on Josh McCown. I'm hoping we have a little more consistency in what we saw in the second half, sans the last interception. But I think with the injuries to San Diego, it's just a bit too much. I hope I'm right. I hope. Let's have a victory Monday, okay? Let's hope
we need one.
Let's hope for a victory Monday here, folks, and get positive, get on board, watch the game. Make sure to get our app for free on Google Play for Android devices. Just type in the Doghouse. For Matt Florjancic of WKYC Sports, I'm Andy McNamara. You've been listening to the Doghouse. Enjoy the game, folks. Go Browns.